Two. Hi guys, got my scruffy t-shirt on this morning. Hi Nancy. So I haven't had a chance to tell everyone that I'm going live. A bit of a rush job because I've only got half an hour, I think. Someone's coming in. Who's that? I hear a voice. Hi young man, please turn it down so that I can do my live. But you know I'm live now. Help yourself to what you want. I could just do you want me to quickly do you some breakfast?
Chocolate pillow.
All right, I'll get you some. Right, guys, I'm going to play this. Well, that aggravated me that Presley even lied about his mother. I don't know how low a person you could be. Yeah, I've seen that. So yeah, Hillbilly Cat Matthew's YouTube channel. Please subscribe to it, Hillbilly Cat. Yeah, discusses what Nancy is talking about here, to do with Gladys's education. So, but I've got to quickly get him some cornflakes or whatever, chocolate pillows. So I'm going to press play on this while I quickly sort him out. It will only take me a second, but this is a very important interview. This to me is one of the best interviews Riley has ever given, ever. It really shows the true Riley. There's a reason I'm playing it. Nancy left a comment. I love Nancy. Nancy's a true Elvis fan. I do think the impression I get from Nancy, in a good way, in a nice way, is that Nancy feels that she does that Riley doesn't truly understand what her mum went through in her life, in her long, through her childhood and everything. Yeah, her teenage years, all of it. Yeah, and my answer to Nancy is very respectful and simple. I think she does. I think Riley knows exactly what her mum went through. Could you imagine writing a book about your mum and how many thousands of hours that took to write, and listening to her mum's tapes? There's so far 16 tapes. So I think Riley knows exactly what her mum went through, but I do think that Riley has a slight disconnect with her body language sometimes, not always, sometimes. And I think some fans confuse that. So let's press play on here and then we'll go from there. Elvis Presley, fans want the truth. And this is one of the best interviews I've seen where she's been completely honest and open and asked some very tough questions concerning the book From Here to the Great Unknown and her amazing family. Let's listen together.
Riley Keough, welcome to 7:30.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
There's a beautiful, poignant expression in the book that you use about your mother. You say she was the Princess of America and didn't want to be. How was she convinced? How did she convince herself that her life story deserved to be told?
I don't know if she did. I think that she just felt like a desire to connect with people and share her life experiences because she'd been through so much. And I think she kind of thought, what's the point of going through all of these things like, addiction and loss and, very human things, falling in love and having children if you can't share your story and, help other people feel less alone in the world. So I think it was more about human connection and helping people, I think was her motive.
That human connection is obviously the story of her life, but you wrote the book in part by listening to tapes of her speaking about her life. Can you tell us what that experience was like?
So guys, this is for everyone. This isn't just for Nancy. This is for any Riley Keough fans that for some reason have sort of distanced themselves from Riley as Lisa Marie's daughter, as Elvis's granddaughter, but mainly as Lisa Marie's daughter. I think some of us fans, now I'm trying to be respectful here to Elvis fans. I completely understand that there are Elvis fans that, you know, Elvis, sometimes it's just Elvis fans, sometimes it's Elvis and Lisa Marie fans, yeah? Certain Elvis fans choose to only be Elvis fans, very loyal to Elvis, and say things about Lisa that are not very kind. Lisa Marie, blame Lisa Marie for many things, accuse Lisa Marie of things. There's that fan, yeah. Then you have the fans that like Elvis and Lisa Marie, and they're very loyal, and they're not happy with things that Riley has done, things that Riley has said, decisions Riley has made. Yeah. Then you get the fans the category that I'm in. Yeah. So the category I'm in. Hi Jane. Sorry, I didn't have time to message everyone. The category I'm in is I am an Elvis and Lisa Marie fan. I support the whole bloodline. So I fully support Vernon, Gladys, Riley, Finley, Harper, Benjamin, Elvis, Lisa Marie, yeah? Now, that doesn't mean I agree with every single thing that they did and that happened. They're all humans. They've all made mistakes, including Elvis, including Lisa Marie. I don't whitewash all these people and say, oh, because they're Elvis's family, Elvis's bloodline, that none of them made mistakes. I won't do that. Riley has made mistakes, as has everyone else. Yeah, as we have as human beings. Yeah, they're human beings. So the point I'm trying to make here, guys, I think there's a bit of a disconnect with some fans towards Riley. And I think if people really take the time to really research Riley and understand Riley Keough and what she's gone through, because she's gone through hell. Finley and Harper have gone through hell, are probably still going through hell. No, they are going through hell because they've lost their mum. They're making the best of it. Riley's making the best of it. The twins are making the best of it. Just an opinion. I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not related to them. I'm just a fan. I'm a fan at home. I personally think Riley, with some fans, is misunderstood. There's a lot of fans that absolutely adore Riley. I absolutely adore Riley Keough. I think she's fantastic. I think what she's gone through is phenomenal. When I say that, I mean like having to write this book, having to pick up the pieces of Graceland, having to go against her own grandmother, Priscilla, concerning Priscilla contesting the amendments of Lisa's wishes in the trust. Riley has gone through like hell. Still is. She's lost her mum. Come on, let's all put ourselves in Riley's shoes. She's lost her mum. The twins, they've lost their mum. That's as bad as it gets. So I say this to the Elvis fans that are against Riley. Put yourself in her shoes. Put yourself in her shoes and then understand her. And to anyone that thinks that Riley doesn't understand what her mum's been through, she created this book with her mum's 16 tapes, her mum's own voice. She didn't have to do this book. She didn't have to create it. She didn't have to finish it. She chose to. She didn't have to do the book tour. Remember, Riley doesn't need money. Riley does not need money. She's got enough money. She didn't do this book for money. She did this book for love on behalf of her mum, Lisa Marie. Get it, guys? So if we watch this, you'll get a feel for what I'm trying to say. This, to me, hopefully we've got enough time to play it, is the most heartfelt interview that Riley gave ever. I think this will be very telling for you guys. And Nancy, I hope this will make you see that Riley does understand what her mum went through. Okay?
It was incredibly emotional. You know, I think when your loved ones pass away, typically there's, you know, you have some videos or maybe voicemails or a couple things left over, but to have like 16 tapes of your parents who's passed away telling their entire life story was like really beautiful and also felt daunting to listen to.
Now remember, how many people do that, what they leave tapes, voice tapes for their kids. Obviously Lisa Marie did not know she was going to die, did not think she was going to die. The tapes were just to help write the book. Unfortunately, obviously, there's been a promise made by Riley. Lisa had asked Riley to help her finish the book, not knowing she was going to pass. But could you imagine how you would feel? How I would feel if because I've lost my father, if my father had left me 16 tapes. I would listen to every word of those tapes. Wouldn't you? Same goes for whether you're a Riley supporter or not. Surely you can see that this was very unusual, that she had these tapes, that she'd been asked to finish a book, unexpectedly losing poor Lisa Marie. And she's been given this task that she decides to go ahead with, because she didn't have to finish this book. She didn't have to expose Priscilla. She didn't have to discuss the wrongdoing, the alleged wrongdoing of Michael Edwards with the sexual abuse of her mother, the alleged sexual abuse of her mother. She chose to keep it in the book. This says a lot. Now, remember, Priscilla's face is not on this book. There's a reason for that. Some people say it's because Riley wouldn't pay for it to be on there. I don't agree. I think the reason Priscilla's face is not on this book is because Riley's trying to tell us something. She's trying to say, look, there was wrongdoing, but she's between a rock and a hard place, because Riley is Priscilla's granddaughter. So they are related. They're blood. It's her grandmother. Come on, guys. We don't turn against our own blood. We fall out with them. We disagree with them, but we don't turn against them. Even if you do turn against them, we make up. People will always make up with blood in the long run. Sometimes it takes years. We know that Priscilla and Lisa would fall out for years. But ultimately, we always make up with brothers, sisters, uncle, aunties, grandmothers, grandfathers, don't we? Eventually we make up, even if there's a long period of problems. You know, for the people that don't make up, it's very sad. Very sad. Here we go.
When I first heard the tapes, it was incredibly emotional because it was the first time I'd heard her voice since she'd passed away. And then
Could you imagine that, guys? The first time she's heard her voice since she passed away. Could you imagine how that felt for Riley?
I started just formatting it into the book, and the stories also got very funny and wild and crazy, and then it became more of, you know, more. It started to feel more like a phone call with her, which was really beautiful in a way.
I love that. It started to feel like a phone call to the people that watch this show, to the Elvis fans, the Elvis and Lisa fans, to the Elvis, Lisa and Riley and Finley and Harper fans. Because there's different types of Elvis fans, isn't there, guys? Let's admit it. Imagine having a phone call. Feeling like you're having a phone call with your dead mum or dad. I say that with respect. It's a big deal, guys. It's a big deal.
I keep kind of wanting to tell people that they should, you know, if their parents are alive, record them kind of giving their oral history, because it's really like beautiful to have.
You're very lucky in that way. Now, talking about wild and crazy, she describes her childhood at Graceland.
Now, guys, I'm warning you. This is quite graphic, quite detailed. So let's listen.
Graceland, and she describes the place upstairs where she had her room and Elvis had his room as a sanctuary. But what was Lisa Marie's childhood like there?
It was incredibly wild and free, and I think she felt very connected and loved, and it was her favorite place in the world, and she had a lot of power there, and she was like a little princess who was allowed to do whatever she wanted, and I think that she was a little bit of a tyrant, so it's kind of funny to read, you know, those chapters, or I find them to be funny anyways.
I mean, that's beautiful, because you can tell Lisa was very, very, very happy at Graceland with her dad, playing at Graceland, playing obviously the go-karts, or whatever you want to call them. Now, obviously, we're a Defending Elvis channel. We defend Elvis, Lisa, Riley, Finley, Harper. We defend Gladys and Vernon and Benjamin. We defend all the bloodline. It makes me feel so happy that I know that Lisa went through a period in her life where she was so happy. Now, what's gutting for us is we know that once Priscilla Presley finds out, gets caught being unfaithful with Mike Stone, the karate champion, it's all over. Priscilla demands a divorce. She grabs poor little 4-year-old Lisa Marie and forces her to live with a complete stranger. Could you imagine how horrific that was? How horrific that was. And what Lisa went through as a small 4-year-old child. Yeah? Dragged away from her father by her mother to sleep with a different man so that Priscilla could live and sleep with a different man. Completely changing poor Lisa Marie's world.
Now, her adoration of her father is one of the strongest themes in the book. How would you describe their relationship?
I think that she was a daddy's girl, and she was, she felt incredibly loved by him and protected by him, and just adored him, and he adored her, and they had a really incredible bond, and he was like her whole world, and I think she was his as well, and so it was a very significant relationship in her life.
That is a perfect description of Lisa, how she adored her father, and vice versa. Now, look, if you look at Riley's body language, Riley's a beautiful lady. Don't forget, she's is she 35, 36 here? I'm not sure the exact age. So we have to understand, this is a woman in grief. Riley Keough is grieving. She puts on a beautiful face. She puts on the makeup, dresses nicely. She does her best to show respect in her interviews. She really wants the world to know her story of her mother, her father, her grandfather. Now remember, Riley doesn't have to do this interview. She's doing this interview. She's promoting the book, but she's also getting the words out there that Lisa, her mother, put on tape, which is now in the book From Here to the Great Unknown. Now, if you look at Riley's facial expressions here, she's quite standoffish. She's a bit uncomfortable. She's a bit nervous. She's in an awkward place in this. I can see it on her body language. She's pushing herself to answer these questions, but she wants to. So I can see that there's a disconnect, and I can see how some people would watch this interview and think, oh, why is she being standoffish? The real people, the people that are really anti Riley, and there's quite a few, unfortunately, in the Elvis world, there's a lot of people that don't like Riley, and they've just got it in for her. They will pick up on the body language and trash Riley. I'm telling you now, guys, Riley absolutely worshipped her mother. Worshipped. They had a very, very close relationship, including with Benjamin, her brother, and Finley and Harper. And of course, her grandfather, Elvis, she never met him. So what she knows about her grandfather is through Lisa's words. So you can't expect the way that Riley discusses Elvis, her grandfather, in the way that she discusses her mother, because they never met. So we have to, please take this into account. Her love is going to always be for her own mother, her deep love, and her brothers and sisters. Yeah? So let's just keep going, guys.
It seems from what you say that he taught her how to love in a very big way.
I think so. I think that was, in the way that she would talk, one of the greatest loves of her life, was her father. And I think that because she shared that experience with, the world, I think it, maybe didn't leave room for her own grief and her own loss. So I think that was a sort of a lifetime of her kind of, I guess, unpacking this thing that she held so tightly, which was her personal grieving experience.
Of course,
that is a big deal, what she just said. I'm going to go back on that because she really does say something very, very crucial here, but I want to hear it again.
Because she shared that experience with, the world, I think it, maybe didn't leave room for her own grief and her own loss.
Right, let me just say something about that, guys. I think we're going to have to do this in 2 parts because I've got to go in 5 minutes. So I've got to drop my son off to football, and then I'm going to come back and do part 2. But she shared, this is Riley's words. She shared her grief. Lisa Marie, when Elvis passed, the whole world was grieving. The whole world was shocked, couldn't believe it, completely gutted. There were literally millions of people mourning his death, maybe tens of millions. We know there was, how many was it? Up to 100,000 people in Memphis mourning his death. But sometimes we forget, we as fans, of course, we're still grieving now, aren't we? We still aren't over the fact that Elvis has gone and left us at age 42. But there was a daughter, poor Lisa Marie. Was she 9 years old? Now, she had to watch the world mourn Elvis Presley, the superstar, the rock and roll star. But to her, it was Dad. To Lisa Marie, it was Dad. So what Riley has just said, and I think she's picked this up from the tapes, probably from discussing this with her mum, Lisa, was that Lisa didn't feel that she could properly grieve for her father because everyone else was. There was no... She didn't have that moment where she could grieve because the fans were so, how can I say it? In shock around the world. Now, of course, she does grieve. Eventually, Lisa does grieve. She even sits with Elvis's body, and they have time together, which I think meant everything to Lisa. Yeah. So now I warn you guys, the second half of this interview is quite detailed, quite graphic. We're not going to have time to do the second half now because I've got to go in about 5 minutes. Let's try and get to the middle of this interview. This interview is 16 minutes long. Let's try and get to the middle of it, and then I'm going to come back and play part 2. I won't be long. It'll only be half an hour.
So I think that was like a sort of a lifetime of her kind of, I guess, unpacking this thing that she held so tightly, which was her personal grieving experience.
Of course, you never met him. He's such a dominant figure, such a huge figure in really almost in the world's imagination. But what is he to you?
He's just like my grandfather to me, and my mother's father, who passed away, and my relationship with him is very personal in that sense. Like anybody's, who grew up kind of hearing about their grandfather would be. I'm aware that it's a different situation, and he's everywhere, and I'm reminded of him often. But the emotional connection.
Was the music present in your childhood, his music?
It was present in that it was always on the radio or in places I was walking into. It's like Elvis is kind of, if you're trying to notice it, it's kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
As far as her playing his music, she didn't really play his music until later in her life. I think that it was very personal to her. And she wouldn't, the first time I remember her turning on his music was in the car with my sisters, so I would have been, in my early 20s. And she put on the radio and said, this is your grandfather singing, and I'd never heard her or seen her put his music on. So it was like I remember it vividly, and that's in the book as well. And prior to that, her relationship with his music was a very personal thing, and I think she would listen to it alone. And sometimes when she was drinking at the end of the night, she would listen to it and feel emotional. But yeah, we didn't grow up with her kind of playing it all the time in the car. But if it came on the radio, she would leave it on.
What's it like for you?
Well, guys, I have to leave it there because I've got to quickly take my son to football. I'm going to come back. I'm going to do a part 2, maybe even a part 3. Today is going to be a Riley Keough day. the whole of today is a Riley Keough day, but I have to shoot off. This does get quite intense, but I really want to spend the day trying to show you guys how Riley absolutely, completely adored her mother, fully, massively respected her grandfather, and is completely there for Finley and Harper. So anyway, I'll see you soon, guys. I'm going to have to rush off. Sorry, guys. I'll be back soon, okay?